Hey everyone! What if I told you there's a stock quietly climbing in the background, not exploding, not crashing, just steadily building momentum while most people aren't paying attention? That stock is BigBear.ai, and something interesting is happening right now. Because on April 22nd, 2026, this small cap AI company didn't just move, it pushed higher again, gaining over 5% in a single session. But here's the real question. Is this just another short-term move? Or the early signs of something bigger? Stay with me, because once you understand what's happening behind the scenes, this chart starts to look very different. Let's start with the price action, because this is where things get interesting. Over the past few weeks, BigBear.ai hasn't been acting like a typical hype stock. There's no chaotic spikes, no panic selling, none of that messy behavior traders usually expect from low-priced names. Instead, what we're seeing is something much more controlled. Go back to the end of March. The stock was sitting just above the $3 level. Nothing exciting, no major buzz, just another quiet ticker. Fast forward to late April, and now it's hovering just under $4. That might not sound dramatic at first, but think about what that really means. This isn't a random jump, this is a consistent climb. The kind where each dip gets bought, each pullback gets smaller, and the price slowly steps higher over time. That's what traders call a clean trend, and clean trends tend to attract attention. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Even during the day, the stock isn't behaving wildly. Most of its movement is staying within a tight range, roughly between $3 and just above $4. That tells us something very important. This isn't a pump and dump. This is controlled activity. On shorter time frames like intraday trading, the stock has been holding steady zones, especially near that $4 level. And when a stock pauses like that after moving up, it's not always weakness. Sometimes it's the market catching its breath. Traders call this consolidation, and it often happens before the next move. But let's not get carried away, because when you zoom out and look at the company itself, the story becomes more complex. BigBear.ai is still very much in what you could call a prove-it phase. Yes, the company is generating revenue tens of millions quarterly, over $100 million on a yearly basis. But at the same time, it's still losing money. And not just a little. The margins are deeply negative. That means, from a long-term investment perspective, this isn't a safe, stable company yet. However, and this is key, it does have cash, enough to keep operating, enough to continue building, enough to stay in the game for now. So what you're looking at is a company with potential, but also risk. And in the market, that combination often creates opportunity, especially for traders. Now let's talk about what might actually be driving this recent movement. Because stocks don't just climb for no reason. There's usually a trigger, a story, something that changes perception. And in this case, that trigger is leadership. BigBear.ai recently brought in new executives' key roles focused on human resources and corporate strategy. At first glance, that might not sound exciting. But think about it for a second. When a smaller company starts bringing in experienced leadership, especially in critical positions, it often signals preparation for growth. It's like setting the foundation before building something bigger. Let's break this down in simple terms. For a company working in defense and artificial intelligence, people are everything. Not just any people, highly skilled engineers, specialists, and professionals who can handle complex systems and long-term government contracts. That's not easy to manage. So having someone focused entirely on hiring, retaining, and structuring the workforce, that's a big deal. At the same time, communication matters too. Because right now, BigBear.ai isn't just selling technology, it's selling a story. A story about AI, about national security, about future potential. And in today's market, perception can drive attention just as much as performance. So what are traders actually thinking right now? Simple. They're watching, but they're not chasing. The stock holding near $4 tells you everything. There's interest, there's curiosity, but there's also caution, because traders want proof. They want to see contracts, stronger numbers, real progress. Until that happens, this remains a watch list stock, not a confirmed breakout story. And this is where mindset becomes critical. Stocks like this sit right in the middle of hype and reality. On one side, you've got the excitement around AI and defense. On the other side, you've got the financial risks. That's why experienced traders don't rush in blindly. They wait. They observe patterns. They look for confirmation. Because in trading, patience often matters more than speed. Right now, BigBear.ai is building a story step by step. The price is rising, the leadership is evolving, and the market is paying attention. But the real question hasn't been answered yet. Can the company turn this momentum into actual growth? Until then, this is a stock to watch, not chase. Because sometimes the smartest move isn't jumping in. It's waiting for the right moment and letting the market show its hand. This is not finance advice.